Hey guys, so today we're doing a really interesting review. So you are literally looking at a creation of passion from a gentleman who's in watchmaking school as we speak. So on the scale of people that are enthusiastic about watches, going to watchmaking school definitely shows some true dedication to the watch collecting hobby and watches in general. The gentleman that created this piece of passion here, his name is Nick. And Nick happens to live in one of my favorite cities in the entire United States at this point. But we got connected through social media and was asked a while ago if I'd consider reviewing one of his watches. And when we first talked about it, I'll be honest, I had just done a review on the Reverie, which was on my channel as well, and I wasn't particularly keen on doing some more of these independent watch reviews. And I asked Nick, I said, what is it about your watch? Why would I want to take a serious look at your watch? Why should I care? I said, I know it's got an NH35 movement, which is a common Seiko movement, and I know you want like $400 for it or so. I said, but beyond that, I said, why should I look at your watch? And he said, honestly, just check it out, and I think you'll get it. And I said, why would somebody buy a watch from you? And he said, because you can count on me to take risks, to create really cool things, and to try to develop things back in the United States. A lot of these micro brands are created by people that have a little bit of cash and just kind of create something on the side. They may not always be the most passionate about watches in the watch world, but you're looking at a creation of a gentleman that is absolutely a watch fanatic. And not just his own watches, but watches in general. I know he has an appreciation for all kinds of watches and watchmaking. And, I have to give Nick a lot of credit. He went out and he put his money and his resources on the line and went out and created his own watch. And this is definitely a situation where for the right buyer, this is a watch where it is more than the sum of its parts. So what you're looking at is literally a clean slate design created by Nick himself. This is what he's calling the Field Standard. This is a new model for him. The watch is created by what he's calling Orion watches. Orion, I believe he named after the constellation Orion, and I'll be honest, I don't know the full backstory on it. But this is definitely a watch where it's definitely got some cool details, and if you're looking for something a little bit different and you want to stand out and you want to have something that is truly supporting a true watch enthusiast and kind of the watchmaking art, this may be the piece for you. So let's talk about this piece a little bit. So what we're looking at again is the Orion. This is the Field Standard, and it comes in a 316L stainless steel case. As you can see here, the case itself is about 38 millimeters. So it's slightly larger than a dress size. Think about maybe a Rolex Explorer 1 in size. It's a good sports size watch. It's not too large, it's not too small. If you like your watch is a little bit on the smaller side, but you don't want a 34 or 36, this is a pretty good size for you. As comparison, those of you guys that have seen me for a while, if you ever saw my SARB 35 review, that was a 37 millimeter watch. So these are very very compatible in terms of sizing. So what you really get when you get this watch is, again, this is Nick's passion. So the basic components, 316L stainless steel, but the case design, the dial, and the details are Nick's inspiration. So just a couple things to point out. Let me go ahead and get this undone a little bit. It's just to get a sense of the kind of passion this guy put in this watch. He just knows all the little details they have, and it's something that you don't really notice at first glance, but the more you spend time with this watch, the more you realize that, Nick definitely put some attention to detail in this watch. So first thing I want to point out is there's a great contrast between the different surfaces. Nick did a great job of doing, there's a high polish on the side. You got this perfect transition to a brush on the upper part of the lugs. And then, around the bezel itself, which is smooth, you have a beautiful high polish. And as you can see, as I'm kind of rotating this thing around in the light, it's got a really cool contrast between the high polish and the brush surfaces. And you also look too, as we get to the lugs here, the way the lugs meet the crown, the relationship is very symbiotic. It's got a very nice relationship, and the kind of high polish of the crown itself against the brushed lugs, there really is something kind of special in their relationship. And you'll see too, the lugs themselves transition from this brushed surface to this kind of high polish on the side. And again, there's a lot of kind of organic elements flowing on this watch, and everything just feels very cohesive and nicely together. And even it can be said about the strap. You'll notice that Nick actually created the strap in such a fashion that it actually mirrors the shape of the lugs and kind of perfectly fits into the case itself. It's almost a seamless extension of the case. And again, it's these attention to details that really show that this watch was the dedicated effort of a watch enthusiast. And just looking over some of the details, the crown itself has a beautiful kind of feeling to the grip. It's very nicely knurled. There's some really nice, almost like chasing comets going around on the crown itself, and the action when you actually activate the crown, which is screw down. It's got a very solid action, it feels good. Now, I mentioned this uses the NH35 movement. This is a common Seiko movement. You'll see this used in watches, everything from your Invictas out there to all sorts of, literally every brand I can think of has used one of these. Like Great Automatic I reviewed a while ago used one of these movements. They're pretty common out there, and they're pretty common because they're good. You guys that are in the Seiko enthusiast group, this movement shares architecture with the 4R and the 7S26 movements, and potentially even the 6R. I believe, unconfirmed, but most people believe that the NH35 is basically a slightly different version of a 4R36. And as such, it has very similar features to a 4R. First position is winding, and it of course winds with the precision you would expect from a Seiko-based caliber. Second position is of course to change the date. This is all pretty standard stuff. And third position, as with the other NH calibers and the 4R calibers, is hacking. So now I'm able to freely set the time, and very nice feature to have both hacking and hand winding. Now you might be noticing too, as I rotate this around, that we're getting quite a lot of reflection off the dial, but it's also subdued, and you're getting a little bit of that kind of bluish tint. What you're actually noticing, of course, is that you have a AR coating on the dial. And that AR coating is, kind of giving you that famous blue tint. When I've done reviews on, Breitlings in the past, I've pointed out IWCs. I love kind of that blue hue. And actually, some of the older style ARs are blue. The newer ones actually don't have that glow to them, but I actually kind of like the way these things look. Now, the glass itself is actually sapphire, and, it feels quite nice in terms of its relationship with the bezel around it. The fitment with the bezel and the crystal, they're very flush, they flow very nicely, and it's very well done. And the dial itself has a lot of little kind of treats on it. I have to say the hands, I think, are gorgeous. I don't know if you can kind of see them here. And there's such a good amount of reflection off of this dial with the AR coating on it. But the hands have some beautiful details, and you can see how the light just kind of catches the stainless, and they kind of have this glow. And these applied hour markers too. These kind of like shark teeth hour markers are beautiful. They're perfectly polished. And again, they just kind of play with the light in such a way that it's just very rewarding. You have a 24-hour dial, and underneath the 12-hour dial. So it is very much a traditional field watch. There's a nice little kind of orangish red accent at the tip of the minute hand as well. And overall, I really enjoy the look of the dial in this watch, reflection on the luminescence. So when we fully charge it up, you can see that it glows really nicely. And especially the hour, minute hand, and second hand. I mean, look at that. They really shine out there. It's quite impressive. And you also notice that there's luminescence actually on all the hour markers too, which is very nicely pleasing to the eye when you look at it. So, overall, again, this is a watch that if it speaks to you, it's more than the sum of its parts. For me personally, I'll be honest and say this is not a watch for me. And I would say for a couple of reasons. One is it's a little bit smaller than I like my sports watches, but again, this is the size I think a lot of people actually appreciate, and I know a lot of people would accuse me of wearing my watches too large. And some of this too is I'm really biased. I mean, just for today's example, I've been wearing my 45 millimeter Panerai Radiomir. So I'm, I have a little bit of a bias towards larger watches. So nothing against the Field Standard, just the size for me. This is more of a dress watch size to me. But again, most people are going to prefer that. You have this leather strap on it. I like the black and the white contrast stitching here. Personally, the strap feels okay. I'm not a big fan of stamped leather straps. I prefer them to just be clean or to actually be genuine like alligator. So the strap's I'm not a big fan of it, but truthfully on a watch like this I would actually put this on a NATO. To me this dial goes really well with like a traditional NATO strap. So if this was my watch, I personally would put it on a NATO strap and I would actually wear it like that. For me to wear this watch, again, I'd put on a NATO and have to be slightly larger, but beyond that I actually don't have too many other complaints about the watch. The case back, there's just some little drilled holes on it. It serves the purpose. I don't mind it at all on a watch like this. I think it's totally perfect for what it is. Now I know on higher end watches that he does for his Orion, I know that he's actually finishing the movements on some of his special editions in a special way, and I've also seen him do some kind of engraving and etching on the stainless steel to create some really unique looks. If you're kind of curious what else he's up to, I'd check out his website, orionwatches.org, and you can definitely see some of the other cool designs he's got going on out there. Now, this is a watch that's traveled a lot through the online watch community, so we've kind of been passing this around, and it's been on a grand tour all over the United States. And I'm the last one to behold this watch before it goes back to its creator, Nick. So I really appreciate them sending this along to me. Like I said, if I think it was a little bit larger and it was on a NATO, this is probably something I definitely would wear. As far as, the sum of its parts, as a stainless steel watch with an NH35 movement, $400 is a little bit steep. But when you take into consideration that this is the work of a passionate watchmaker doing something unique, and you're not going to find this watch just anywhere. I mean, this is very much a special piece that you're never going to see somebody else wearing one on their wrist. I mean, you're going to feel special wearing this. If the look speaks to you and you want to support a fellow watchmaker, then I don't know what other thing you could do to help someone out and the passionate into this hobby. So just I'll leave you guys with a quick wrist shot here. Go ahead and put it on my just under 7-inch wrist. Nice little fortress buckle. Let me pop it on here. Always easier to do this on camera, being sarcastic. So there you guys go. It it looks nice on my wrist. Again, my wrist is just under 7 inches. And again, the dial, as it randomly picks up light from my light here, and you can see kind of the different parts of stainless steel glowing. I mean, it definitely has kind of a romance to it. And I very much appreciate what Nick has done here. And I very much appreciate that the guys have let me be part of this tour, and that Nick has let me take some time with his watch. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. As always, if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Links to some other YouTube reviews of this watch, including Nick's website, are below in the description. And as always, guys, I hope you guys are having a great day. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Take care.